This video is on the LIFO periodic method from the FileMaker Pro user's perspective. First thing I'm going to do is bring up the data set that we're using. We have this data set. Here's our purchases on the left and our sales on the right. Down below we have that data set in chronological order. And it's really in sort of a transaction, and we're not going to use that so much when we're working with the periodic method. What we want is the purchases or the debits. We want those in a list view, but when we talk about the sales or the credits, then we want those in an aggregate, and we can get this aggregate here. This is a summation of the quantity. I'm going to set this off to the side, and let's bring up some windows. I have a little bit of cleanup to do, and you might have similar cleanup to do on your demo file, so this might be helpful. Let's take a look at this item valuation. We have 25 records. I don't need those. I'm going to clear those out, but this first one I do want to save. So on that first record, I'll just omit that, and then I'm going to delete the found set. I want to take a look at that record in another table, item valuation. This is a data table or developers table, and the idea is that every table has a dedicated layout that can be used for scripting, and there aren't any triggers, and it's usually a pretty sparse layout, which makes it nice for scripting. I'm going to change this type to beginning inventory. The date's important, so we need to make sure this is the correct date. We're working with the SKU 70904, and that's the ID for that. And I'm changing this just slightly. We really don't have a process. We're just presuming that we're starting with the beginning inventory, and then I don't have a transaction for that. This is not essential, but we don't need that data. This is essential. I do need this 800 to match the 800 of the initial quantity. $3.20 is the cost per unit, and looks like I didn't put that in currency, but the value is correct. And now the ending inventory value is 2560. That is correct. And date zeroed must be emptied, and that looks good. Okay, so that's ready to go. Let's take a look at, next thing I want to look at are the transactions. And I have a slew of transactions here that I don't need. This was for testing purposes, so I don't need that, but I want to keep that up on the screen, and I want to keep this up on the screen, and I don't need this, but I do need two other tables. Let's see, what do I want to do? I need my sales order table, and I want the purchase order table. Now all the order tables are built, all the order layouts are built on the same table. It's a universal table for all orders, and so therefore we have the same data set. And now that I'm in the purchase order, I want to find just the POs. I can do that by doing that. Same with the sales order. I can do that this way. When you have navigation, this would be done automatically with navigation, but we don't have navigation set up in this module. So I just do this manually, and I can very quickly get to my list. I'm going to make that shorter and make this shorter. One thing you may notice is that I do have a couple of other SKUs in here. So I have this 74230 and 75619. When you do the periodic method, you're going to grab a bunch of the SKUs. And so what I'm doing in this demo file is I'm trying to simulate that by adding a couple of other SKUs. Okay, I'm going to situate these screens here. Here are the screens that I have. I have our sales orders down here, the purchase orders down here. up on the upper left, these are the item valuation. This is the item valuation log. This is interesting because in this method, in the periodic method, at least in the demo in the way that I've presented it, we're not going to see data populate this log during the time of purchase orders and sales orders. It doesn't happen until later. You'll run a script. You'll either have the script run by the server side, or you might have an admin table where somebody can go in and click this when you're ready to do the month end or the quarter end or the year end. Over here we have the transactions table, and I do want to see this. I want to see the transactions populate. And we could start that now. We're going to start with a purchase of this other SKU, and that puts that. Now I'm going to go back to our data set and start with the 70904. So our first thing is a sale of 600 units, and then we have a sale of 2200 units, which I could do here. There's a trigger on this field, and in order to get the transaction to happen, I just have to go into the field. It's an on-object save. I go into the field, I remove a digit, I replace that digit with the same digit, and I tab out of the field. Let's see, we have 2200. Now we have a sale of 1600. Purchase of 1200. And then a sale of 1000. There's a couple of other SKUs. There's one more off screen just down below, so I'll put that on there. And then we have a sale of 400. Now we're at 1800. Yeah, that's right. Sale of 1400, and in this other SKU 325, and then off screen again is one of 550. Let's see what we are. Then we have a purchase of 500 for our main SKU, and for our main SKU we have a sale of 200. Okay, so that takes care of all the sales and the purchases, and I can get rid of those tables. And you can see that our log is still the same. It hasn't changed. We still have our beginning inventory. And what happens is, again, this would be a server-side script, or this could be a script on an admin layout that somebody runs at month end, quarter end, year end, kind of a thing. I'm going to run that. I'm going to simulate that by going into ScriptMaker and running that script. Okay, I just realized I said ScriptMaker, which is it's called Script Workspace. It used to be called ScriptMaker many years ago. I'm in Script Workspace, and I'm going to run a script, and now we see, let's see, it really presumes that only one window is going to be open, so I'll get rid of that window, and I can close the workspace here. And now we see the SKUs. The list is sorted by SKUs, and it's for a particular month. In our case, in our example, it's June of 2018. And this is our list down here. And you can see we have all of our debits, beginning inventory and purchases, all of our debits on the T account, and we want those as a list. But we only want the credits as an aggregate, and we have that 5,200. So from here we could see that our existing inventory is 1,300 units, and the value of the existing inventory is $4,110. And then our cost of goods sold, the number of units we sold, was 5,200, and the cost of goods sold is $17,100. The other thing about this is on these LIFO adjustment lines, you can't read that. The field is too small. The LIFO adjustment line, it's taking the values from the last item. And so these last items get zeroed out, and the beginning items do not get zeroed out. Let's take a look at, there's one other thing to take a look at. I want to look at 70904. You notice that we had this as a beginning inventory for June, and we had this purchase of 500, but we have that left over. We've closed out the month of June, and now we move into July. So let's take a look at that. $70904, and I want to look at only July, only the month of July. And now we have two new records for July 1st, and they are both beginning inventory. They're both beginning inventory because they exist at this particular cost, and we need to track that cost. And then the process happens all over again for July.